There we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here and going again. We're coming in. This is class 9. Those from 24 to 36 months of age should be 13 in class. Probably didn't hear that announcement out there, but just wanted to let you know that we're going to go ahead and finish, of course, our senior percentage. Then we have about 6 of those specialty classes of pairs and groups. Then we will go into the junior portion of our full blood show, and we will show 4 classes. We'll show class A, B, C, and D in the junior part of the full blood show, and then we will quit for the day. But once again, we will show class A, B, C, and D in the junior portion of the full blood show, and then we'll quit for the day.
I could have our exhibitors back in the barn. Attention, we are missing a couple here in this class. 36 month. We need Matthew Slowenbar. This is from New Prague, Minnesota, on entry 17. We need Caleb Taylor from Rockwall, Texas, on entry 2064. Need both those individuals in the show arena at this time. Matthew Schoenbar and also Caleb Taylor.
Lori Peterson, could you please come to the office?
Once again, I would have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn. This will be your first call for Class 10. Those does 36 plus months in age. First call, Class 10. Once again, I would have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn. This will be your final call for Class 10. Those does 36 plus months of age. Final call, Class 10.
All right. Hopefully everybody's back from lunch break and not about to fall asleep, and we get through this the senior percentage drive. Really good group of age does out here. We're going to start the class with a doe up on the front end. That's just a doe that's pretty hard to get around. We did excuse a doe that was phenomenally a really nice doe, but I think a doe here that was still going to win the class regardless. This doe's got so much volume. A lot of breed character and head and neck about her. She's got some good extension on the front end. So you look at her and you see she's a female, not ultra clean fronted, but she's clean enough. I love the way she ties in through the neck and the shoulders. Long bodied, long from hooks to pins. Just tons of volume from the heart girth all the way through the rear flank. Just a large, broody looking doe. Still got plenty of product about her and still got a little showy look to her too. Our second doe here is a doe. It's a little bit plainer made. Doesn't have quite the overall size and scale the other doe did. But still, she's got enough. Again, big, powerful, I call a horse head on her. Again, not ultra clean in the chest floor, but that's fine. We got an older female here. We don't expect them to be a very, very youthful looking, but I love the way she ties in all the way through the shoulders and top line. I really love the hooks to pins on this doe, how long rump she is and how much muscle she's got coming down that rear leg. She stands on really good feet and bone, just a really nice made female. The third doe here is a doe that, if we had to be critical, we'd like to give her just a touch more strength right behind the shoulder. She drops off in her top line just a little bit compared to the two does ahead of her. Again, not ultra clean fronted, but that's fine. But on profile, you really got to appreciate how much volume she's got through the heart girth and through the rear flank. She's just got a lot of reproduction look to her as far as carrying multiple young. Again, big, powerful head and skull to her. Stands on good feet and bone. We like to strengthen her up in her top line just a touch. The next doe here, I guess you kind of call it a paint doe. Really good looking doe. She's maybe just a touch more pinched in her heart girth area compared to the does ahead of her. But this doe got her standing in, I believe it was fourth. She just doesn't have quite the rear third in power, in muscle from hooks to pins, and then might have muscle through that rump and that twist area compared to the does ahead of her, but a really nice made female. The next doe here is another doe that's a little plainer made, doesn't have quite the breed character head we'd like to see necessarily, but I like the way she ties in through the top line. I love the length of body. But again, another doe that just gets out horsed on that rear third, doesn't have quite the muscle and power the does ahead of her did. This large caped doe here is a doe that's ultra feminine doe, really stretched, really extended. Nice top line to her. I like the way she ties in through her neck and shoulders across that big top line. A doe that just does a little more feminine on her bone structure, a little lighter made, doesn't have quite the natural hand muscle. You get your hands on her compared to the does ahead of her, but a really nice made female. This next doe here is another large volume kind of doe, but a doe we just feel like kind of gets out horse, doesn't have the overall power through that rear third. Really nice made female. This next doe here is another large volume, kind of just feel like kind of gets the overall power through that rear third that the does ahead of her did, but you really appreciate the depth of body through the heart girth and all the way through that rear flank. A lot of center third to that doe there. This next doe is a really doe that is really attractive on profile. She just doesn't have the width of chest floor and all the way through the rear hocks compared to the does ahead of her. I love the extension and the stretch on that front end. I love the top line on her. She just didn't have quite the power. This next doe here is a doe that, attractive made female. I like the head and power on her head and neck and the way she ties in through her shoulders. I like the center body. I like the volume she's got. That's just a doe that we'd like to change her mammary structure a little bit, give her a little more. She stays in the ring because she's correct enough about her. Just a little more bulbous on her teat structure than what we would like to see. This next doe is another doe that just gets out horsed a little bit. She's attractive on profile. She's got some extension and got some breed character about her head. Just doesn't have the overall power and of natural bone and natural muscle compared to the does ahead of her, but a really nice set of does. Congratulations.
Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, the results here in our Class 9. In first place was Sydney Beatty from Loveland, Colorado on SAKB Jazzy's Moon. In second place was Ed Northcutt from Tracy, California on E843. In third place was Mike and Maureen Reese from Rio Vista, California on R4 California on R4R I Am a Blonde. In fourth place was Allison Binkley from Scottsburg, Indiana on ATAB Aphrodite. In fifth place was Herbert or Kenny Cheyenne Williams out of Cairo, Nebraska on 9RDBD. In sixth place was Modessa Hoffer-Dye out of Fort Collins, Colorado on MKHD Fancy Don't Let Me Down. In seventh place was Wyatt Stevens from Cisco, Texas on Even as Chocolate as a Kit Kat. In eighth place was Evie Gates from Bonita, Oklahoma on Evie Oopsie Baby. In ninth place was Matthew Schoenbauer from New Prague, Minnesota on 2M 2M Boer Goats, 2M Mercedes. And in 10th place was G.W. Stander from Aubrey, Texas on Tudo Parado My Fair Lady. Now in the arena is our Class 10. This is our final class in the senior division. Should 36 plus months of age, should be 16 in the class. Once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a round of applause. While our judge is making their final decision here, just kind of like to let you know a couple of things that we kind of catch up on here in the afternoon. If you may be joining us for the first time, you'll notice that around the show arena we have tables. Those tables are have individual sponsors. Some of those are companies, some of those are groups, some of those are breeders here in the industry. But once again, they add additional financial support here for our show. We like to recognize those as table sponsors and like to recognize those at this time. We have Blue Gainey Ranch, we have Kimmer Ranch, Able Acres, Carlson's Pinecrest. Also have the Dust Devil Ranch and Caprio Boer Goats. Clear Creek Farms, we have the Missouri Family Ranch, Paradox, and Minger Creek Ranch. Weatherall Farm and Hilltop Farm, also the Advanced Boer Genetics, Diefenbach, Stevens, and Smith, the Minnesota Boer Goat Association, the Prina Acres Boer Goats, the Lucky J Family Goats. Also, we have S&S Boer Goats, Westfall Boer Goats, SAKB Boer Goats, Breezy Acre Boer Goats, also RJ Transportation Incorporated, and AA Boer Goats. We have the Wild Wind Farm along with K Hollow Boer Goats and Hard Rock Farm, and then also Wild Wind Farm with Hard Rock and K Hollow Boer Goats. We have the Botger Boers, C&J Show Farms, Wiki's Rock and Boer Goats, Shepherd Creek Ranch, Frank and Susan Berner, the Land of Grace Farm and Southern Hollow Farm, and the Flying L Ranch Boer Goats. Once again, table sponsors, we appreciate you, all the additional financial support. Ladies and gentlemen, would you give these guys a round of applause for all the additional sponsorship they do? We appreciate you. Thank you.
once again, if we have our exhibitor's attention back to the barn, just like to remind you, we're going to be wrapping up this class 10, 36 plus month here. Upon completion of that class, we'll bring back our first and second class 9 as we show for our grand champion in the senior division. When we complete that, then we will be bringing back our grand champion in the junior division and grand division, as then we name our grand champion overall and a percentage doe. So once again, we'll be inviting those individuals back here in just a few minutes. Also, it's just kind of a catch up here. Then once we've done that, we have 5 specialty classes and a percentage, and then we'll go directly into the full-blood junior doe show. Also, to follow up on that, in case you didn't catch the announcement earlier, in our full-blood doe show, we will show Class 20A, Class 20B, Class 20C, and Class 20D in the junior full-blood show division. Then we will quit for the day. Once again, we'll show the first 4 classes in the junior division of the full-blood show, and then we will quit for the day.
Nice class of does here. We're going to start the class with a doe that's just really complete. She's not the most massive doe out here. She's definitely not the heaviest. She's not the biggest bone doe, but a doe that's really designed nice. What I like about her, she's really fresh in her condition for this stage of life. She's really smooth in her transitions from shoulder to rib and rib to hip. You get up in front of her, there's a nice wide chest floor in her. You get behind her, really wide and square through that hip, carries that down deep into her leg, sets up wide and square, tracks out wide and square. Just a really nice design doe. From both an eye appeal standpoint and some power in her for as nice and fresh as this doe appears at this age. I think the doe that we wound up with in second follows her type and kind nicely, especially from a profile. She's really long and feminine through that front end, really smoothly blended into that shoulder. There's a lot of middle capacity to this doe as well, maybe not quite the complete package in terms of muscle shape, in terms of width of track as she's moving away from you, but a lot of nice things to like about this doe we wind up with in second place as well. The doe we got in third, maybe the powerhouse doe in the class, a doe that's just really massive in terms of her muscle shape, gets a little rounder in that shoulder shape, maybe a little rounder in her hip than the 2 does that were up above her, carrying a little more condition, not quite as much loin width in her when you get your hands on her as I was expecting there to be. Would like to lengthen up that front end, make her a little longer, more extended through that front end, but a nice, powerful, really wide-based doe there. Though we got in fourth, just kind of kept working her way up to the top because there's not a major hole in her. I'd like to see her a little longer sided from this angle here. Definitely really deep, a lot of expansion to that rib cage. Maybe not super massive in terms of her muscle shape or her bone work, but a doe that has a lot of depth. You appreciate her for that. You appreciate the front end. Just would like to see her a little longer from shoulder to hip. The doe we're calling the half and half doe, the brown and white doe here that winds up in fifth. Liked a lot of things about her from a profile. She stays dead level on the move, really long and level down that top line. Maybe makes her a little shorter in her hip. A doe that doesn't have a ton of substance of bone underneath her. Like just to see a little more circumference of bone for a doe that has that much length of body and that much capacity through her middle. But I like the way she's hooked up in that head and neck and that neck shoulder junction as she comes up high out of that neck and really gets around the ring very nicely. The doe we got coming up next, young lady in the pink shirt. A doe, again, with a lot of mass, a lot of power, a lot of muscle in her. Just gets a little plainer in terms of her appearance. Probably one of the heavier conditioned does in class. Starting to fill out in that breastplate a little bit, carrying a little more condition.
over that first and second rib, a doe that just doesn't quite have the eye appeal that some of the sharper, fresher does up ahead of her had. Young lady coming out next in the maroon shirt. I love the front 1/3 of this doe. I love how elevated and tall she is. I love that long, graceful stride she takes off that front end. She's really high and clean through that chest floor. She starts to fall apart a little bit behind the shoulders. She wants to get a little weak in that top line. She wants to just get a little plainer in terms of her muscle shape as you get around behind her, track out a little flatter and narrower than some of the does that were up above her, but a doe from a profile who's very nice when she keeps that top line up. It's just not all the time. Young man's doe that comes out next, again, a doe that has some capacity through the middle portion, just a little plainer in terms of the expansion to her rib cage. She gets a little flatter right behind that shoulder, not a ton of muscle shape when you get down to the lower portion of her leg, but a doe that's designed nice, got some capacity, got some width through the chest floor. Doe that comes out next, a doe that's got a little bit of knot developing on her underline on this right-hand side. Just like to see more capacity, more expansion of that rib cage, particularly behind the shoulder, more muscle shape when you get behind her. And the doe that winds up the class, you love the length of body from a profile. You love the extension through the front end. Just doesn't quite have that expressive muscle shape through the hip and hind leg structure. She gets around the ring. Nice set of does. Let's give them a hand for bringing out some nice does today.
The results here in our Class 10. In first place was Bob Silkey from Cleo Springs, Oklahoma on SBHC Rainy Day Women. In second place, Madison Fenton from Tushy, Washington on Maddie Tia. In third place was Jason and/or Catherine Klug out of North Salts, Texas on Triple Chicks Cinnamon. On fourth place was Ryan Throckmorton from LaSalle, Colorado on JRJSG Poker Face A 1009. In fifth place was Maddie Boyd from Sweetwater, Texas on BGR 30 Blue Gainies. I don't, and then the rest of it's gone, so I apologize. I can't give you the rest of that name. In sixth place was Casey Arnold from Cisco, Texas on MISG Cupcake. In seventh place was Joe and Candia Cross from Princeville, Oregon on FTHLS Promotion. In eighth place was Levi Dale from Ashton, Nebraska on Chantilly Lace. In ninth place was Sierra Baker from Rowlett, Texas on KNOXL Walking K Absolutely Just. And in 10th place was Neil and Melissa Love out of Lancaster, California on Loving Them, She's a Man-Eater. Also let you know that here, we want to go back and just catch up just a little bit on our percentage on our ribbons in the 24 to 36 age class. That ribbon sponsor was Eagle Talon Enterprises, and on the 36 plus was Dugat Livestock, Texas, and also Brandon and Alyssa Dugat as well. So once again, we appreciate our ribbon sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, now showing for our grand champion in the senior division of our percentage show. Once again, I'd like to introduce our exhibitors to you at this time. Coming out of class number 9, your first place winner was Sydney Beatty from Loveland, Colorado. And in second place was Ed Northcutt out of Tracy, California. And again, here coming out of class 10, your first place winner was Bob Silkey out of Cleo Springs, Oklahoma. And in second place was Madison Fenton from Tushy, Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Encourage these competitors as we name our grand champion senior percentage doe.
Exhibitors' attention back in the barn. We're now in the process of naming that grand champion senior division. So if you had the grand or reserve grand and the junior grand and reserve grand in the yearling division in the percentage does, you need to be in the holding area at this time. We'll need Bailey Bergherm, Nicole Hobby, Haley O'Brien, and Madeline, those 4 individuals in the holding area at this time. Also, if I could have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn upon completion.
Well, as we come to the conclusion of our division championships here, we're getting ready for our overall grand selection here momentarily. We get into these senior does, and you know, we only got 2 classes in this age division, but we've seen some really good numbers within these 2 classes. We've seen some awesome does, and I think you see before you a set of 4 that are certainly to be commended and appreciated for what they and how they present themselves out here in the ring. Yeah, we got a little bit of difference maybe in our 2 class winners, but I think equally as important is the fact that they combine a ton of quality to their makeup. You look at these does; they're really excellent in terms of their balance and their symmetry. You look at them on their feet and legs, and I think there's a lot to be said for how sound these breeders and exhibitors are able to keep these females, even though we've put them into production. I think it was a pretty clear-cut couple of winners within this set of 4 for us. We kind of gravitated towards one, and honestly, it's one that hit me pretty hard when she came out in class. It's pretty hard to falter. I think she's just so good all the way to the ground. You put this one into motion, and if you need to study structure on a Boer goat doe to understand what structure should look like and how one can get out and move and why all the skeletal pieces need to move certain ways, I think you need to study this one because she does it almost to perfection. And then she combines that with all that look, balance, eye appeal, muscle, substantial amount of mass and shape. And that's that doe that came out of that last class in this division. She's going to be your champion. Congratulations.
And your grand champion comes out of that 36 plus months. That's at class 10. That's Bob Silkey out of Cleo Springs, Oklahoma. Now Madison Fenton from Toosie, Washington will now pull over as we get ready to show for our reserve grand.
We bring up that second place doe to our champion, and I just spoke about the structural integrity and how good that champion was. I think to compliment her within that same category in the same realm of getting close to that perfection part of how they're built skeletally and how they hit the ground and get out and move and still maintain all that look and power. We're going to use the one that came out of that same class for your reserve.
And your reserve grand also comes out of that class 10. So that's Madison Fenton from Toosie, Washington.
Once again, if we could have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn, we will be working right into specialty classes as soon as we name our grand and reserve grand overall here in our percentage doe show. So if you have entries in class 15, best pair of percentage doe kids, class 16, best pair of percentage does 1 year older, class 17, produce or percentage dam, class 18, percentage get a sire, or 19 breeders percentage doe herd, you need to be in the holding area at this time. We're already lining those up, so please make your way to the holding area as we line up all of our specialty classes in our percentage doe show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now showing for our national grand champion and our percentage show. So once again, I'd like to introduce our competitors to you at this time. Coming out of the junior division, your grand champion was Bailey Bergholm from Terre Haute, Indiana. Your reserve grand was Nicole Hobby from Houston, California. Coming out of your yearling division, your grand champion was Haley O'Brien from Fort Myers, Florida. Your reserve grand was Madeline Curdy from Bloomington, Indiana. And once again, back to our senior division, your grand champion was Bob Silkey from Clio Springs, Oklahoma. And your reserve was Madison Fenton from Tushie, Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and encourage these competitors. We name our national grand champion percentage doe. Give them a round of applause.
Well, it's been a fun first day for all of us. I think, like I said so many times before, sorting goats when it's this good. Well, it's been a fun first day for all of us. I think so many times before, sorting goats when it's this good makes it a lot of fun. When they walked in the ring, I said, this is going to be hard. And Rusty said, this is going to be fun. Because when you're sorting goats that are this good, there's really no right or wrong answer. It all comes down to just personal opinion. And there's 6 really good females, percentage females, standing out in front of you right here today. The junior doe, of course, she withstood a lot of competition, really. And there's 6 really good. Of course, she withstood a lot of competition, really fit it to a T, as well as super nice from a profile. Love a lot of things about her. The yearling doe, as powerful as you want to make one, as much true and honest muscle shape in that girl in a pretty complete wide square level package. Then the senior doe to be that fresh and that complete and that hard muscled after having produced, and to stay that nice through the front end, level down the top line, wide from the rear. All 3 of these does are super outstanding. So it is a difficult decision, but we did come to a consensus that there's one that stands out to us just in terms of the fact that we love her added power, her stoutness. She combines that with a lot of eye appeal. It's going to be your yearling champion and overall champion today.
And your national champion comes out of the yearling division. That's Haley O'Brien from Fort Myers, Florida. Now, Madeline Curdy from Bloomington, Indiana, will pull over for our reserve grand.
And as we fill that spot with yet another really nice doe in the reserve champion yearling division, there's still 3 really good ones for us to choose from. But I think overall, to keep that hard muscle shape, that freshness, that soundness of structure at the age and production level she's at, the senior doe is going to be reserve.
And the reserve grand comes out of the senior division. That's Bob Silkey out of Clio Springs, Oklahoma. Ladies and gentlemen, and now, what we call specialty classes. This is class 15, the best pair of percentage doe kids from class 1. So once again, this is our class 15, best pair of percentage doe kids. While our judges are making a decision here, we're going to make this announcement a couple of times throughout the afternoon and also tomorrow. Just like to remind you, one of our really fun events happens tomorrow at noon. It's our old timer showmanship contest. Always have a lot of fun with that. It's going to be once again tomorrow over lunch. If you'd like to sign somebody up, first of all, to sign up or sign someone up, it's $5 to sign up. And then if you find out you're on the list and you want to back out, it's going to cost you $10 not to show. And then if you want to stay off the list permanently, it's going to cost you $50. Okay? So have a lot of fun with this. So once again, all the money that raised goes back to the ABGA. But once again, that's the Old Timer Showmanship Contest tomorrow at noon. It costs $5 to sign someone up. We'll have some of our JABGA members. They've got the sign-up sheet. They'll be walking through the barns. If you know somebody you want to put on that list, just go ahead and put them on. But it'll cost you $5 to put them on. And then if you're on there, it'll cost you $10 to not have to show. So once again, great fun event. Everybody has a great time with it. So please sign somebody up. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and give these kids a round of applause. We've got officially who's who here. Looks like the grand champion in our best pair of percentage doe kids is 4L Boer Goats, and your reserve grand is Jason Miller. Is Jason Miller. And coming now into the arena is our class number 16. That's that best pair of percentage does 1 year and older. While we're bringing those in, just want to make kind of a quick announcement that Kenny just come up to me and wanted to remind everybody that the adult refreshment room is now open. The adult refreshment room is now open. If you look to the east end on the second floor, that is the adult refreshment room. Okay, it is sponsored by Kenny's Killer Jerky. It'll be open from 12 to 6 each day, and now again through Thursday, and hopefully part of the day on Friday. So once again, from 12 to 6, but it's open up there. Once again, sponsored by Kenny's Killer Jerky. Go up and visit with your friends, but once again, certain age limits are required.
Also, just kind of a little quick catch-up announcement here. We'd like to make in the barn. Just like to remind all of our adults, it's something we have each of the ABGA show. The adult refreshment room is now open. That is sponsored by Kenny's Killer Jerky. If you don't know where it is, it's here in the show area up on the east end, the second floor. Kenny's Killer Jerky sponsors that. It's open from now until 6 o'clock p.m. Be open on Thursday and Friday as well from 12 to 6. But once again, if you're interested, the adult refreshment room is now open.
All right, while we're waiting here just a little bit on doing our specialty classes, just want to do just a little bit of catching up here. Go back to our individual champions and our sponsors. The percentage grand champion senior doe, that was by Rebar Ranch, Travis Levings, also did the reserve. Then we get to our national grand champion percentage doe banner, that was Umbarger Feed. Also the national grand champion percentage doe bronze was Umbarger Feed. The National Reserve Grand Champion Percentage Doe Banner and the Bronze were both sponsored by Rose Creek Acres. Once again, we appreciate all of our sponsors and that additional support they add. So once again, thank you to our sponsors. And your grand champion is Teresa Westmarket. Okay, sorry if it's called T West Boers. T West Boers. And then reserve was Billy Ashburn. And in our percentage produce of dam, your grand champion was Teresa Westmucket of T West Boers, and your reserve was Jacob Weist.
If I could have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn, we're going to be wrapping up these special classes just here in a few minutes. We're going to go directly into that full-blood show. So this will be all Class 20A. The birth dates on that are from 3/11/18 to 4/26/18. One again, Class 20A dates would be between 3/11/18 and 4/26/18. So if you're in a Class 20A, you need to be making your way to the holding area at this time. Once again, if I get our exhibitors' attention back in the back, we're just about ready to wrap this up. We only have one more class, and that special class. This will be your second call for Class 20A. Once again, this will be your second call for Class 20A. That's that first class in the full-blood show. Once again, those does from 3/11/18 to 4/26/18. You need to be headed to the holding area at this time.
And for your percentage get of sire, your grand champion was Levi Dale. And your reserve grand was Melissa Love. And ladies and gentlemen, out in the arena now is our final class and our special class. This is class 19, Breeders Percentage Doe Herd. And the results of our percentage produce of, the percentage. Back up here, this is a percentage doe herd, okay? All right. Your grand champion was Levi Dale, and your reserve was Melissa Love.
Once again, I'm going to have our exhibitors' attention back in the back. All of our specialty classes are through. We're ready to start that full-blood show junior division, and this will be your final call, Class 20A. Final call, Class 20A.
Ladies and gentlemen, now coming in the arena is our Class 20A. Once again, the birth date set is 3/11 of 18 to 4/26 of 18. Should be 33 in the class.
Once again, if I could have our exhibitor's attention back in the barn, we're short 3 in this class 20A. We're short Catherine Schwartz from Somerset on entry 1429. We're short Austin Pagel from Hawkeye, Iowa on entry 1487, and also short Rachel Barron from Knox, Indiana on entry 1595. So once again, we need Catherine Schwartz from Somerset, Ohio on 1429, Austin Pagel from Hawkeye, Iowa on 1487, and Rachel Barron from Knox, Indiana on 1595. We need those 3 individuals in the show ring at this time.
The exhibitors on the outside of the arena may be excused this time. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and thank these exhibitors for being here at our 2018 ABGA show.
Once again, if we have our exhibitor's attention back in the back, this will be your first call for Class 20B. There again, the birth dates on that of 18 to 3 and 10 of 18. First call, Class 20B. Once again, if we have our exhibitor's attention back in the barn, this will be your final call for that Class 20B. Once again, the birth dates on that are for 3 and 1 of 18, 3 and 10 of 18. Final call, Class 20B. Also, just as a reminder, back in the barn, we'll be showing the first 4 classes here in our junior division, classes A, B, C, and D. So once again, we'll be just in our junior division, classes A, B. So once again, we'll be just showing the first 4 classes in junior division of our full blood show, and then we will break for the day.
way to start off our full blood show here this afternoon. We get into this first class of these younger does, and in this age break, you're invariably going to see some differences in size and scale and weight per day of age, and you can see down through the lineup, we've got some does that maybe show a little more performance, a little more maturity, and then maybe in particular the couple of red ones that are out here. But I think if you study this lineup from end to end, you're going to see a lot of quality throughout all these females. And yeah, we've got some differences up there, maybe even in our top 2 and top 3. But I think the quality they put together is what gets them up here into the forefront of the class, and how they're going to go ahead and mature on out and develop on out. That's still a big if in our minds, but I think what we've got out here today is a doe up here at the top end of the class that is good in her structure and her design as any out here. She's excellent in terms of her feet and legs, and as you watch her get out and travel, you really appreciate the amount of substantial base width that she has, how pulled apart she is in her underpinnings. She transmits that base width and stays true to that width all the way down to the ground. She picks them up and puts them down in such a superb and square manner that you truly have to admire how she's built and how she's designed. You get your hands on this doe, she certainly doesn't disappoint you. As wide and as flat a loin as you could ask one to be, substantial amount of rack shape, blends in smoothly and transitions a lot of power into the top of that hip, transitions that power through that stifle, ties it in low in through that leg and twist. I think just an awful solid female there to come out and win the class. I think a doe that initially a couple of us saw when she came in the ring, and we kind of questioned whether or not this one was going to be big enough. And the more you get her out here and the more you study her, I think this one's awful good in the terms of her type and kind and the way that she's built and designed. Look at the length and the levelness down her top line, how her spine hooks in so correctly at the top of her shoulder and the top of her hip, the roundness in through that rib cage, that length in through that center carriage, how good she is in her feet and legs, opened up and pulled apart. I think this one is probably as good a handling type of a doe as you can find out here as well. I love the elegance. I love the look through that head and through that neck. You just have to ask yourself a question, is she going to neck? You just have to ask yourself a question, is she going to be big enough when she gets to be a yearling or when she works her way into her senior phase of her show career? If you think so, I don't mind you if you want to run her a little harder up there for that top spot within the class. I think that one's pretty unique in her type and kind, and an awful lot of breeding value built into that one from end to end. I think here's a doe that comes down to the third spot. There's a lot of things you got to like about this one, particularly when you get your hands on her. She transitions an extreme amount of shape back into her hip. I think maybe she gets a little pinched in through that lower part of her heart girth and forerib, and that kind of detracts a little bit from the balance when we view her from the side or maybe even from the top angle down. I think there's a doe that gets a little higher in her hip. We'd just like to maybe flatten her out and balance her out in her line. See a little more symmetrical design to this female today to really rival what you see in the top 2 does, but an awful good one in terms of her feet and legs, and the way that she has some presence about her is really exemplary in our mind. Probably be a bright future for that one on down the road. I think a doe here that comes into the 4th spot is one that a couple of us may have had running up there at the top end of the class. Love this one from the side. I think from a profile standpoint, you have to appreciate the angularity that she shows us, how correct she is out of her hip through that hock all the way down to the ground. And that's really evident when you set this one into motion. I think she's made as well as any within the class from a side view profile. You get around in front of her. We need to crack her open at the base of her chest floor, open her up through that front side of her body cavity, just see some more natural width and dimension throughout. There's an awful good one in the making right there. And then the red doe, just simply young, out-horsed in this class. I think we just watch this one go, put some more groceries into this girl, watch her mature on out. This one's probably as good a handling female as there is out here as well, albeit for her size, she is superior in terms of her muscle dimension down her top. I think that one's pretty neat. You look at the angularity of her, you can see a lot of future in that one on down the road. A couple of those that come next that maybe just got a little plainer in their overall design, maybe not quite the muscle shape and dimension in the young ladies doe that goes out next. Particularly when we get our hands down, a little shorter fronted, maybe not quite the feminine look that you see in the gentleman's doe that comes after her. The young lady that comes next is one doe that doesn't have quite the wow factor, but really good on her feet and legs. Need to power her up, particularly when we get behind her and study the muscling out of that hip and stifle. The next doe in the lineup is again one that you appreciate the bone work and the foot size and the way that she's presented today. Excellent job in terms of the way that she comes to us in that regard. Maybe gets rolled up in through that spine, doesn't have quite the smoothness to her overall design to get her up any higher. A paint doe that we truly love from the balance and look and eye appeal. Young man's done an excellent job with that one as far as presentation goes. Simply just not enough power and true muscle shape within this one. I think a red doe that comes next, again, I love the length of side. I love the look down her top and the handle on this one. Just need to stouten her up in her bone work and foot size, give her some more muscle shape all the way throughout to really get up any higher. But a good way to start off these full-blood does. Let's give all those exhibitors a nice round of applause, please.
Congratulations. In first place was Faith Burke from Mapleton, North Dakota on BF02 B. Burke Farms Twister. In second place was Bailey Brumfield from Bainbridge, Ohio on PCSG, A Touch of Design. In third place was Piper Fisher from Hominy, Oklahoma on TKGB, Perfect Exposure. Fourth place was Aaron and Denise Crabtree from Chillicothe, Ohio on ABGB, Scandalous. In fifth place was Bob Silky from Cleo Springs, Oklahoma on Silky Star of the Show. In sixth place was Piper Fisher from Hominy, Oklahoma, this time on TKGB, Shutterfly. In seventh place was Joshua and Sally Kerr from Sherman, Texas on Kerr, Payback My Golden Queen. In eighth place was Caden Merriman from Hallett, Oklahoma on SRF2, Shamrocks America on SRF2, Shamrocks American Girl. In ninth place was Dakota Ballard from Roxton, Texas on Cody's Next Golden Girl. And finally, in 10th place, Nicholas Pitlick from Jordan, Minnesota on Wildberry. Ladies and gentlemen, now coming to the arena is our Class 20B. Once again, the ages on this is from 3 and 1 of 18 to 3 and 10 of 18. Should be 40 in the class. While our entries are coming here into the arena, I'd just like to remind you of a couple of things. First of all, we have our old-timer showmanship. We've got one of the JABGA members that's maybe wandering through the barn, maybe coming back through here in a little bit. A great time to get somebody signed up. A lot of you remember that contest, but basically you can enter somebody in that contest, sign them up. Costs only $5 to sign them up. Great time to get into that contest, but basically you can enter somebody in that contest, sign them up. Costs to sign them up. It costs you $10 to get out of the showmanship contest. Once again, a lot of fun with this contest, but all the money that we raise goes back to our JABGA. It's a great fun activity that happens tomorrow at lunch. So once again, be looking for one of our JABGA members coming around with that sign-up list. Also like to go back, we finished up that class 20A and just like to recognize that ribbon sponsor in that class. That was Dugat Livestock Texas and Brandon and Alyssa Dugat. Once again, we have a sponsor for every class here this year. We appreciate all the work that some of our people have done to make this happen. But once again, we'll recognize these banner and buckle sponsors as we go throughout the day. But once again, we appreciate all of our special sponsors. The exhibitors on the outside of the arena may have excused the time. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, which is a really, really big class. Lots of good does out there, so we appreciate you. Thank you. While our judge is making a final decision, just like to remind you of a couple quick announcements here. First of all, the adult refreshment room is now open. For those of you wonder where that is here at the east end of the arena, up on the second floor in the glassed in area. That's sponsored by Kenny's Killer Jerky. It's open from now until 6 o'clock and also be open tomorrow as well. So once again, we appreciate Kenny making all those arrangements. Once again, that is sponsored by Kenny's Killer Jerky. It'll be open until 6 o'clock.
Once again, I would have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn. This will be your first call for that Class 20C. Once again, from 1 and 1 of 18 to 2 and 28 of 18. This again will be your first call for Class 20C. Once again, I would have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn. This will be your final call for the Class 20C. Again, the birthdays from 1 and 1 of 18 to 2 and 28 of 18. Call Class 20C.
we've got an incredibly good class of young does out here to choose from, and really from top to bottom, man, we are so deep in quality. And then Josh and Nick and I all discussed this, that we judge shows all over the country, and really these top 4, 5, maybe 6 does could be grand champions at almost any show we've judged anywhere across the country. They're that good. They're that deep in quality from top to bottom. And we're really grasping it and just really picking hairs apart to try to choose what we like. And hairs apart to try to choose what we like. And I think we're all kind of in agreement. The doe that kind of comes is not necessarily the biggest, boldest doe out here. But, man, when you get your hands on her, she is really impressive. As I described her to these guys, this is a doe that Ray Charles could find. When you look at her own profile, she's so just breed character correct, that little head and neck, and I love the extension in the front third. She's got plenty of cleanness in the chest floor. She's structurally correct on all 4 corners. Enough depth of body from front to back. She's not the longest body. She's not the biggest, tallest goat out here. But when you get your hands on this doe, she has got one of the most impressive loins and widest. But when you get your hands on this doe, she has got one of the most impressive loins and widest loins and deepest loins of anything we've seen in the class. And she's so proportionally correct, so well balanced. She carries that muscling down those rear legs so well. Just a really, really nice doe that's going to be pretty hard to get around. We follow her up with a doe in second that's very similar in type and kind, a doe that may be just a touch deeper bodied. Just may not have quite the feel of loin that the doe that wins the class did, but I absolutely love the textbook head on that. To see that kind of Roman nose from the tip of her nose to her forehead and through the horn set at this age is extremely impressive. I personally put a lot of weight on the shape of horns or shape of the head. I think you can tell a lot about a doe or a goat because of it, and I think that's a good example of one right there. She may be just a hair shorter length of body compared to the doe ahead of her, but I love the depth from the heart flank all the way, or the heart girth all the way through that rear flank. Just a really impressive made female. Just when you get your hands on her, she didn't have quite the width and power on the loin that the doe that wins the class did. The doe in third is a doe that's very similar to the doe ahead of her. Another doe that's a little more, I guess, kind of color soggy made, a little more plainer made, not quite at the feel that the muscle that the two does ahead of her did. But you really got to appreciate the balance this doe's got, the eye appeal she has. I love the depth of body she's already showing at this age. I mean, she's already got almost a wedge starting to show. That is so impressive, and she's got such a big, big future showing or breeding, just a beautiful made female there. We follow her up with a doe. The doe in fourth, the red doe, is a really long-bodied doe, and this is a doe that she kind of crept up on us, and she kind of moved up the class as we kept, sifting through this whole deal. Not as deep-bodied as what the 3 are ahead of her, but she's deep enough to still be proportionally and balanced correctly. A doe that if we could maybe give her a half inch of width of chest floor, I think a doe that's going to challenge for the holes above her a little bit better. She just didn't have quite the width of chest that the 3 does ahead of her did. This next doe here is another beautiful doe with a lot of breed character and shape to her head and horn set. Got some stretch and femininity in the front end. Maybe a little bit steeper in her rump than what the does ahead of her were. Gave up just a little bit of power and width across the rump or through the stifle area from side to side is what the does ahead of her did. But, man, I really like that doe. I like the depth of body to her. I like how much power she's got. This next doe is another doe that's really attractive on the profile. I think she just gets out horsed a little bit. She doesn't have quite the overall size and stature some of the other does did. Didn't have quite the feel and quite the amount of muscle maturity as what the does ahead of her did, but a really nice made female. This paint doe here is a doe that we really liked, and we first questioned her when she first came in the ring. She didn't track as well as what we wanted to see, but she stood beautiful. So we said, let's give her another look. We brought her out and walked her around, and I don't know if she loosened herself up or what, but she's tracked a whole lot better the rest of the class than what she did when she first came in the gate. But a doe that I think just gets out horsed a little bit, doesn't have quite the power that the does ahead of her did, but a very attractive made female. I love that front stretch on her. Really nice made doe. This polka dot doe that comes in next was a doe that's really attractive on profile, but she's one when we get our hands on her, she just kind of melts away a little bit. She doesn't have quite the feel that the does ahead of her did. She's got a little extra hair on her, nothing wrong. I think she may be a little younger than some of the others in the class, but she didn't have quite the feel of muscle the does ahead did for her to move up any further. Kind of the same thing for this next doe here, a doe that's a little shorter bodied, doe that just didn't have quite the feel that the does ahead of her did. The red and white paint doe is another doe that we kind of almost missed in the class, but the more we studied her, we thought she definitely deserved to be in this top 10. And she's another doe that I love, the stretch and elegance in that front third. I like how square she is out on the corners. She maybe handled just a touch more width across the chest floor and a touch more natural muscling of coming down that rear leg. But again, another nice made female. This is just an excellent class of junior full-blood does. Congratulations.
The results in our Class 20B: in first place was Joe and Barbie Teal out of Stillwater, Oklahoma, on Teal GKP Candy Drops. In second place was Terry and Sue Taylor out of Lubbock, Texas, on KIKNH Sparkler. In third place was also Terry and Sue Taylor out of Lubbock, Texas, this time on Wendy Acres Hot Chick Lucy. In fourth place was Ashley Rolls from Lebanon, Oregon, on ACFF Culver Family Farm Devil Whip. In fifth place was Thomas and Jackie Redden out of Norman, Indiana, on RBMG Twist of Faith. In sixth place was Travis Levings out of Okeen, Oklahoma, on TKLEV Rebar Ranch Cherokee Rose. In seventh place was Belton Billy or Mark Ashburn out of King, North Carolina, on B2GFB Square Goat Farm Klondike. In eighth place was Seth Goodwin out of Lewisburg, West Virginia, on GF5 Goodwin Farms Outcast Polk. In ninth place was Nicholas Pitlick from Jordan, Minnesota, on PF08 Demagoddess. And in 10th place was Slade Trickle from Winfield, Louisiana, on GOJ Clark Farms Pistol Annie. Ladies and gentlemen, now in the arena is our Class 20. Those would be on their birthdays, would be from 1 and 1 of 18 to 2 and 28 of 18. Should be 44 in the class. Your banner sponsor in that Class B was Jim Furman, and that's an Aflac associate. Once again, that was Jim Furman, Aflac associate, for our banner sponsor in our Class 20B.
like to have our exhibitor's attention back in the barn. We need these three individuals. We need Christy and Jay Gibbs out of Guthrie, Oklahoma on entry C. We need Melissa and Neil Love out of Lancaster, California on entry 1118. And then we need Sue Wall from Bloomfield, Indiana on entry 1542. Once again, we need Christy and Jay Gibbs out of Guthrie, Oklahoma on 1060. We need Neil and Melissa Love out of Lancaster, California on entry 1118. And Sue Wall from Bloomfield, Indiana on entry 1542. We need those individuals in the show ring at this time.
the exhibitors on the outside of the arena may be excused this time. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and thank these exhibitors for their participation today. Thank you.
Once again, if we have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn, this will be your first call for that Class 20D. There between 12, 11, 17, of 12 and 31 of 17. Once again, first call, Class 20D. Once again, if we have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn, this will be your final call for that Class 20D. Once again, that birthday between 12 and 11 of 17 and 12 and 31 of 7. Final call, Class 20D.
Long class, difficult class, some does up here on the front end that are all really good, but very different in their type and kind. And ultimately, we wound up with the doe that's obviously not the biggest, not the stoutest, but in our mind is the most complete doe out here. The little red doe winds up being really wide through that chest floor, really smooth in her design, blended in really nicely in her transitions from shoulder to rib and rib to hip. You see her right here. She's wide and square. She's sound. She combines that with a lot of muscle coming right out of that shoulder, carries that all the way back into her hip, down deep into her leg. Maybe you'd like to make her a little prettier front and a little longer and more extended about that head and neck, but all in all, a really sound structured doe with a lot of mass, a lot of thickness, and a lot of eye appeal just because she is so complete. The doe instinct catches your eye immediately when she walks in the ring. She's big, she's stout, she's big bone, maybe doesn't hold that skeleton together quite as nicely as the doe that starts out the class, gets a little weaker behind those shoulders, a little steeper out of her hip. We wondered as she progresses in terms of her age and her weight, is she going to hold herself together as nicely as the doe is that wins the class? But a doe you got to appreciate for her mass, for her length of body, for her extension, and for her stoutness. Doe that winds up with in third, again, another type of doe from the first two that we started the class with. Super sharp front and that front end really nicely blended into that neck and shoulder. Just a doe that doesn't quite have as much body to her as the two does that were up above her. A doe that you like to deepen up and soften up in that twist when you get around behind her, but a doe that has a real hard handle to that muscle to her loin, and a doe that's super eye appealing. The paint doe kept kind of working her way up. We didn't find her when she first came into the class, and from this angle, you like a whole lot of things about her. You like how smooth she is in those transitions. You like her length of body. You get around behind her. There's not quite as much width at the pins as you'd like to see. Not quite as much muscle shape down into the lower leg when you get around behind her, but a doe, front 2/3, super high quality, really nice. Young lady doe that comes out next, again, another doe we didn't find right away that kept working her way up just because she's pretty sound in her structure. She's pretty complete. She's not the biggest doe. She's got some curvature to that rib cage. She has some hardness to that loin edge when you get your hands on her, and you can appreciate her for that. A doe that wants to set that rear right foot down, twist out just a little bit as she gets on the move. She's obviously not as big, not as heavy muscle in terms of overall dimension as some of the does that were up higher in the class today. Young man's yellow tag doe coming out next, super pretty, really long, extended to that front end, really smooth, presented very nicely, strong down that top line, just not quite enough internal dimension in her. Just need to open up that rib cage, deepen that rib cage, give her a little softer feel, a little more sogginess to her at this stage of the game. Just want to see a little more brood doe prospect in her, but a doe in terms of being pretty, she's as pretty as you want to make one from a profile. Doe that comes out next, we really like the front end in this doe. We like how long and extended it is. We like how blended in she is at her shoulder, gets a little narrow in that chest floor, wants to turn those front legs out, wants to get a little straight in those rear hocks and hock in a little bit. But a doe from a profile, you like that maternal wedge-shaped design that she offers. The doe that's coming out next, you like the mass, you like the overall dimension through the front 2/3 of her body. Really got a big, strong shoulder in her, maybe a little too bold for a doe, but a doe, when you get around behind her, disappoints you a little bit, gets a little narrower at the pins, gets a little flatter in terms of muscle shape, a little flatter and narrower as she's moving away from you. But a doe, you got to appreciate the length of body, the mass, the overall rib depth. Then the two red does that wind up the class, both very nice in their design. That's why they wound up staying in. They just get a little flatter made, a little flatter in terms of their muscle shape and the way they track out as they move away from you to get up any higher today. But a really difficult class for us to sort of really nice does. Let's give them a hand for coming out today.
Congratulations. In first place was Madison Fenton from Tushy, Washington on Caprio's Tom Girl. In second place, Eden Bashford from Pennville, Indiana. That's on EKB1, Bashford's Mixed Blessings. In third place was Seth Goodwin from Lewisburg, West Virginia on GF5 Goodwin Farm, Rockins Jewel. In fourth place was Rick and Misty Allen out of Fairmont, Illinois on RMA2 Oh My Gosh. In fifth place was Robert and Misty Gonzalez from Fowler, Colorado on MDG Goosing Around. In sixth place was Cole McNear from Runnels, Iowa on K2R Iron Lady. Seventh place was Sidney Beatty from Loveland, Colorado on SAK's Rags to Riches. In eighth place, Clint Demmett from Bridgeport, Texas on SCF5 Sandy Creek's Freedom. In ninth place was Caden Merriman from Hallett, Oklahoma on SRF2 Shamrock's My Time to Shine. And in 10th place was Maurice and Kim Irwin from Davis City, Iowa on Irwin Princess Poppy. Ladies and gentlemen, now coming to the arena is our final class of the day. This is class 20D. Once again, the birth dates on this is from 12/11 of 17 to 12/31 of 17. Should be 39 in the class. While the judge is making a decision, I'd just like to remind you once again, tomorrow is one of our really fun times over lunch. It'll be our old timer showmanship. Great event, great way to raise money for our kids. Once again, you may not be familiar with it. We challenge each of several of our exhibitors. You can challenge anyone to be out in that showmanship contest. It is a real live showmanship contest. You can nominate anyone to win. It costs $5 to enter anyone to show. If you don't want to show and your name is on the list, then it costs you $10 to get off the list. So also, if you want to get off the list permanently, just go ahead and give the kids $50 and you're done, okay? You cannot be entered on the list more than 4 times. All the entry money and goes back to the ABGA, their fund. But just wanted to, also we got the deal here on prizes. There'll be gag gifts for the 1st through 5th and all the old timers. We have our sign-up list here. So I know several of you have said, okay, when can I get this? When can I get started? This young man is going to be coming around here. He's going to come off stage. Let's give him a round of applause since he's doing this right now. We've had Michaela, they're doing it as well. He's going to come around, so it's about time to get signed up. So raise your hand. He'll come get your $5. So get your $5 out of your pocket, give this young man, and sign somebody up.
If I can have our exhibitors' attention back in the barn, we're missing 4 individuals here in this class 20D. We need Madeline Root, Indiana, on entry number 1434. We need Jeff Pickrell from Fredericktown, Ohio, on entry 1615. We need Austin Chamness from Charlestown, Indiana, 1992. And we need Brent Witherspoon from Newmarket, Tennessee, on entry 2053. Once again, the ones we're missing are Madeline Root, Jeff Pickrell, Austin Chamness, and Brent Witherspoon. If you have those entered in that class 20D, you need to be in the arena at this time.
exhibitors on the outside of the ring may be excused this time. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, for the last time today, put your hands together and thank these exhibitors for their participation today. We'll make this announcement back in the barn as well, but our judges will make themselves available for pictures here for those percentage classes. For once again, we'll try to get a lot of those caught up today. But once again, our 3 judges will make themselves available for pictures upon completion of this class. And then we'll pick that back up again tomorrow, and we'll make the announcement in tomorrow. But once again, if you've had a particular individual doe you'd like to have a picture with, and we for sure need all the grands and reserves, need those done as well. But once again, our judges will make themselves available upon completion of this class. Also like to tell you that we have several vendors around the building. There's some over here again on the east side, some in the cattle barn, some over in the sheep barn. Once again, we appreciate all of our vendors being here. I'd like to tell you who those are. We have Sullivan Supply, we have North Star Gates, Agribuckle, we have the Show Bling on a String, have the Show String USA, Essential Feed, we have the AgriWorld International and Biogenetics, we have the Wheat King Manufacturing, have Vitalix, the Elwoods, that would be Radiant Reds and Kenny's Killer Jerky. We have Lowe's Feed, Kimmer Auction, have LivestockBuyers.com, Acasta Creation, Sidale 3-in-1 feeders, also the Twisted Stitch, have Exodus Trailers, and the Prize Goat Design. So once again, we have about 20 vendors all together scattered throughout the building. Please go by, say hi, see what things they have to offer. So once again, they have some great things, great services to offer. We appreciate all of our vendors being here for our 2018 show. Okay, since we're still doing rock and roll, I've got $1 for any kid that can come up here and tell me who the name of the group is that's singing this song.
Well, we're going to wind the classes up today with a highly competitive and pretty interesting class of these young full-blood does, if you ask me. I think a lot of different things to sort through, some different types you need to adjust your eye to, some differences in terms of the way that these does come at you from a condition standpoint, from a performance and power standpoint. And just a management standpoint in general. I think for us, we found a set of 5 up here at the top end of the class that we really, really liked the way that they were presented in terms of their design, their stylishness, their balance, their look, their feminine appearance off of both ends, and yet you really liked all the power too. And I think for us, the doe the young lady has up here at the top end, yeah, there's some things that we could certainly change and maybe adjust to this doe, particularly maybe out of that front 1/3, we could just pretty her up ever so slightly through that head and skull plate. But I think there's a combination female. You talk about width, mass, dimension, how good she is on her feet and legs, how she gets out and travels, and then she maintains just a tremendous amount of shape down her top and out of her hip, just pretty solid in the way that she comes to you today, pretty fault-free and awful complete in the way that she's designed. Not a big hole that you can punch in that one. No frills about her either. I just think there's one that's just awful good in all aspects of her build. A pair of does that come into the second and third spots that I think pretty tight placing in our minds, some give and take amongst these two does. We see the gentleman's doe that's going to ultimately come out into the second spot for us. Just has some extra length to that spine, particularly off the back side of her body. She's longer out of the hip from hooks to pins. She shows us a little more shape up there at the top side of her pelvis and more elevation to that tail head set perhaps, and that just lends her to have a little more balance from the side view profile. You get your hands to have a little more balance from the side view profile. You get your hands on her. She's got plenty of shape, plenty of dimension, particularly from that 13th rib on back. You study her out of her hip. She's got enough shape and dimension back there as well. Not as much as either doe to one side or the other of her, but I think there's one that's got enough power and enough dimension with a tremendous amount of look and balance and eye appeal to really come up there and fight hard for one of these top 2 spots. I think a doe here in the third hole that has some power. When we step around behind her, you appreciate the handle on this doe, particularly out of that loin edge. I think there's one maybe just elongate her ever so slightly right there off the back side of her body in the loin edge. I think there's one maybe just elongate her ever so slightly right there off the back side of her, and the way that her spine ties into the top of her hip. Watch this one on down the road. If she'll do that as she goes through some maturation cycles, there's one that could be a contender and a player into the yearling phase of her show career. Pretty unique doe here in the 4th spot. I think a breeding piece, deluxe, a lot of things that you can do with this female. You study her from the side. You love the overwhelming depth of body that she exhibits in relationship to the rest of the class. You love the sweep to her underline, how uniform she is in that depth of body from forerib back to flank. She's good on her feet and legs. She's wanting to not maybe cooperate the most of any of the does out here. But I think what really detracts a little bit from her today is you get around behind her. She just got so much dimension and rib shape in through that center, maybe just a little bit too full to really analyze the parts and pieces correctly. She just wants to get a little uncoordinated in the way that she ties to transition segments. I think we can shift some balance points in the way that her skeletal build's designed, and that could certainly add and lend her a little better look when we get her out here and rival with the rest of them. I think a doe here that comes out to the 5th spot, there was a lot of discussion about this doe early. I think upon an initial evaluation when she came in, she was a pretty easy pull. We like this one on the side view profile, particularly on the walk. I think she's awful good in her design, long and level down that top. Just basically, when you get your hands on her, it just gives up too much shape, too much dimension. We like to fix her out of that front end as well. Set her about with more correctness from the bottom part of her shoulder blade down through that knee, and how she hits the ground, how she wants to reach out and plant and pull herself forward. It's just a little awkward on this doe, but I think from the side view profile, that one's awful good. A red doe that comes next that you have to appreciate from that balance and eye appeal. Just simply didn't have enough muscle shape today, particularly when we step around on the back end of this doe. Young man's doe there in the purple shirt. I think there's one that's got a tremendous amount of power, a little more moderate in her frame score, elongate the vertical bones, extend her out of that front end, keep the power. I think that one works her way up at the top end of that line. A really unique individual that comes next. I love the elevation through her chest floor. I love the way she ties in high about the top of her shoulder. Pretty correct in the way that her spine ties in off of both ends. Just gets a little flatter made and a little pinched in those underpinnings as we view her from behind. Young man's doe that comes next gets a little more uncoordinated in the way that she picks them up and puts them down off all 4 corners. We could certainly stouten her up structurally, give her a little more structural integrity and less deviation off of all 4 corners as we watch her travel. And then the doe that rounds out the class. Here's a doe that's better on the when she's on the move. She really comes together quite nicely. I like the rib shape. I like the dimension through that center. Really good in terms of her feet and leg design. Just simply wants to cave in and fall apart on the park. I think we just need to get her to where she'll stand up and come together more so on the profile. Nice class of does to round out our set today. Congratulations to all our exhibitors.
Congratulations. In first place was Madison Fenton from Touchy, Washington on Capriole's Maddie Needs, and I'm sorry the rest of that is gone. In second place was BMAC Farms out of Pink Hill, North Carolina on BMAC G6669. In third place, again, was BMAC Farms from Pink Hill, North Carolina, this time on BMAC G666. In fourth place was Joe and Barbie Teal and Lori Pearson on Me Boars Cry Pretty. In fifth place was Terry Brown out of Touchy, Washington, again, this time on Capriole's Little Dipper. In sixth place was John and Stephanie Gorman out of Falks Run, Virginia on Mantadilla Party Like a Rock. In seventh place was JJ Boer Goats out of Byers, Colorado on JJ Boer Goats Frankie. In eighth place also was JJ Boer Goats out of Byers, Colorado, this time on JJ Boer Goats Grace. In ninth place was Elijah Merrill out of Lakeville, Indiana on BMAC Unicorn Party G668. And finally, in 10th place was Joshua Tucker from Ogden, Iowa on TBG00 Tucker's Look at Me. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it finishes up here for the day. We'll see you bright and early at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I have exhibitor attention back in the barn. Just let you know that our judges are making themselves available for pictures, and just make that available then for all of our percentage does. We'll make sure we have all of our grands available then for all of our percentage does. We'll make sure we have all of our grands, reserve grands. Also, our photographers will be available to take pictures in addition as well. Once again, they're making themselves available right now. Also, we will start once again at 8 o'clock in the morning with a Class 20E.